Hello BookTube, my name is Juan. I am just one reader, your favorite Mexican booktuber who reads in English and will occasionally do this weird British voice and also will occasionally burst into song just for no reason because that's who I am and, well, deal with it. Anyway, I am here today very excited because I am doing a tag. Honestly, I feel like it's been years, nay, decades, nay, ages, nay, eons since I've done a book tag, ye old book tag. So today I will be filming the book recommendations tag, which was originally created by Steph Borer, and I will link her channel down below. Essentially, I love the idea, the simplicity yet brilliance of this book tag. Essentially, these are just a few questions, a few prompts rather, so that I can recommend some great books to you, and hopefully by the end of this video you will have a list of great new books to add to your TBR. And please also, for the love of God, leave a comment down below and recommend some books to me, because that's also why I'm here on BookTube. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get started with the book recommendations tag. Question number one is your favorite book, a book that you're always telling people is your absolute favorite. And for me, it always is, it always has been The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende. This is my favorite book. It's a book that I think is just absolutely delightful, exceptionally well crafted, beautifully written. The characters, the world, the language, the whimsy, and the wisdom. This is the best book that's ever been written. Prompt number two, a book that is your guilty pleasure. Now, I don't necessarily agree with or condone the idea of guilty pleasure or guilty anything. I think you enjoy what you enjoy for different reasons, all of those reasons being incredibly valid. However, I just adore The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. It's a book that is objectively, it is what it is. But it's a book that I love because it really got me hooked into reading. Well, I already was a reader when I read this. I was like 11 years old when I read this. And by the way, I went to an incredibly rigid, conservative Catholic school. And so I had to take my book, my Da Vinci Code copy, and I would have to sort of disguise it with some dust jackets of some other books, and I would smuggle it into school and read it behind teachers' backs, because yeah, if a priest, one of the priests or teachers had caught me reading this book, I would have been expelled. Prompt number three is a book that everyone loved, but you did not. Oh man, if only I were to make a separate video talking about all the popular books that I have disliked. Oof. Maybe that's a good idea for another video. Anyway, first of all, I have to mention Brandon Sanderson. Just as an author, I have tried so many of his books already, and I think he's the worst, one of the worst authors in fantasy today. Hot take, I know, but that's just my opinion. I am also choosing Joe Abercrombie's Best Served Cold. I love Joe Abercrombie as an author. I love his narrative voice, his flair, his style, his wit. However, this book was awful. I really don't think this is a good book. People are crazy for loving this book. It's not the worst book. It's not Brandon Sanderson, but don't read this book. Prompt number four is a book that you read the fastest. I am going with Bookworm by Lucy Mangan, a memoir of childhood reading. Now, this might not be the book that I have read the fastest, but it certainly is a book that I read way too fast. I wish this book could have lasted me for an entire year. I wish she would write 60 volumes of this. Bookworm is a book that is everything that a bookworm can desire and can want for. I read this book in just a couple of sittings. I think I read it in like a day and a half, just in a few sittings. And it's just one of those books that you don't want to keep turning the pages, because it will be over and you will come to the end and the book will be over. And I just never wanted to part with this book. This is one of my all-time favorite books, and it just goes Like, it just goes way too quickly. It's such a delight. Prompt number 5 is a book that deserves more hype. And for this, I am choosing The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. This is such a perfect book, and people don't get it. People are crazy. The same people that think Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie is the best thing under the sun, those are the same people that don't understand you, my dear, my beloved, my precious, my precious. Anyway, the reason why I'm choosing this book for this prompt is because, you know, everyone here agrees that The Name of the Wind, which is right here, The Name of the Wind is a fantastic book. People go crazy for this book, and yeah, this is one of my favorite books of all time, sure. However, a lot of people are like Judas, and they have completely betrayed Patrick Rothfuss, and they love the first book and then don't like the second book. Well, y'all are crazy. The Wise Man's Fear is an even better book than The Name of the Wind, and I will fight you to the death, you punk. Because, you know, here in Mexico, we know what to do when you get all punky. Así que, fíjate muy bien, cabrón. Fíjate muy bien. Te voy a romper tu madre, cabrón. What am I even doing? I've gone crazy now. Anyway, The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss is a perfect book. People do not understand. People are not enlightened enough to get this. I'm so pretentious, I'm such a snob, but I love this book. Prompt number 6, a book that is becoming a movie or a TV show. Well, this is the book that I'm currently reading right now. I'm only like 70 pages in and I am adoring it, and that is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is actually the second book and the one that they are turning into a Disney Plus show series adaptation is the first one, The Lightning Thief, but I am currently reading book 2, which is The Sea of Monsters, and I adore this. This is everything that Brandon Sanderson wishes he could be. Prompt number 7 is a book that you have reread the most. This is such an obvious choice. Good old Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. The Goblet of Fire is the book that I spent my teenage years and early adulthood rereading, and for a while, I distinctly remember I would just finish the book and immediately start over. Like, it's not even funny how many times I have reread this book. This book came out 23 years ago in the year 2000, and I've reread this over 40 times. It's not even funny anymore, but you know what? I literally just reread this last month and I was so invested still to this day. What is it about this book? Let's see, where are we? Prompt number 8, a book from a genre that you don't typically read, and for this I am choosing the genre of romance. I never read romance except when I do. Broadway Nights by Seth Rudetsky. What a delightful, wonderful queer story. This was like written specifically for me. I love this. Prompt number 9, a book that deserves all the hype that it gets. And for this, I am choosing The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. I am holding Fool's Fate, which is the final book in the Bartimaeus Trilogy, so the 9th book in the series overall. But I could be choosing any book in the series. This one might be my favorite alongside the last book in the series, which is Assassin's Fate. But still, I put off reading this series by Robin Hobb for many years because I never thought it would be worthwhile reading. I never thought the hype would be, so true to what the books ended up being for me. This book in particular, Fool's Fate, but the entire Realm of the Elderlings is probably like the best thing that I have read in my life since Harry Potter and, well, some other gems. This is like the best reading experience that I've had in recent years, and if you haven't read The Realm of the Elderlings or Robin Hobb at all, please do yourself a favor and get started now after watching this video. Prompt number 10, a book that you usually recommend when people ask you for a recommendation, and this is the reason why I wanted to answer this book tag, just because I really feel like this series that I'm going to recommend to you needs to be read by everyone, and I cannot believe this series is not as popular as it should be. It's not popular, period, and I really think this is something that people are severely missing out on. And this is going to be the best series that you will read that you haven't read, that you're not even aware of, and that is the Bartimaeus Trilogy by Jonathan Stroud. The first book being The Amulet of Samarkand, the second one, The Golem's Eye, and finally book 3, Ptolemy's Gate. This is just the best trilogy that I've read, probably in the YA genre, except maybe for historic materials, but that's a different kind of book. Anyway, the Bartimaeus Trilogy by Jonathan Stroud is something that I just cannot understand how people, especially fantasy readers, are not more aware of. This is so much better than pretty much all the fantasy that I have read that is popular. I just don't understand why people are not reading this and raving about this still. Like, if you want to read the Bartimaeus Trilogy with me, leave a comment down below and we will make a reread happen, like a readathon or a read-along, or we can make some kind of book club together, because this is a series, a trilogy that needs to be read and discussed. You will adore this. If you like Harry Potter, if you like Artemis Fowl, if you like historic materials, if you like pretty much anything in good fantasy, in the good fantasy genre, you will adore this. You will eat this up. These books are very, very magical and whimsical. The fantasy is off the charts. The character work and the writing style are so much better than most fantasy out there. And I don't think I've ever read a book series that is funnier than this one. That's just all I'm going to say. You are missing out if you haven't read the Bartimaeus Trilogy. Prompt number 11, a book that has your favorite character or characters. This is an impossible question to answer. Like, of course, Harry Potter would be the obvious answer, but I'm not going to repeat that answer. I've already mentioned The Never-Ending Story. I've already mentioned the Patrick Rothfuss. I've already mentioned some books that I think really have The Realm of the Elderlings, like my favorite characters. So I'm just going to go with something different. Hopefully this will be a good recommendation for you. If you haven't read P.G. Wodehouse, you are certainly missing out. P.G. Wodehouse is a staple in this home. I sometimes just like find myself talking to some of the characters in P.G. Wodehouse's stories. Am I schizophrenic? I really don't know, but we're just gonna pretend like I didn't say that, right? Okay, so the characters and the worlds and the dialogue and the banter that you will find in P.G. Wodehouse's stories are just so delicious. You will become an Englishman or Englishwoman and start talking like this. The characters are just delightful, like all of them. Not only Jeeves and Worcester, but all the characters. For example, I am holding a bounty of Blandings, and the people that inhabit, and not only people, but animals that inhabit Blandings Castle and this universe are just positively delightful. Prompt number 12 is a book that you wish you could live in or live inside of. So you would assume that I would choose a fiction story like Harry Potter, but you know, I can't recycle Harry Potter for each and every question. So I have chosen something different. I am going with Razzle Dazzle, The Battle for Broadway by Michael Riedel. This is actually non-fiction, but I wish I could live here. I wish I could live on Broadway, New York City, Broadway specifically, the theater, hustle and bustle, you know, this show business center of the world, of the theatrical American world. This is a wonderful book, by the way. This is one of my all-time favorite books, and if you haven't read it and you enjoy theater, Broadway, musicals, the whole thing, this book is delightful. It is witty, it is informative, it is exceptionally well written. Michael Riedel is, I mean, I revere that man. He has done something remarkable here, and I just wish I could live here and in these anecdotes and watch these productions. how they were constructed, and just go to the theater and, you know, see the original production of like Funny Girl or A Chorus Line. Oh my God, the nostalgia is so huge. Prompt 13, a book that you thought you would hate but ended up loving. I never thought I would hate this, but I certainly thought it would be kind of disappointing and boring just based on the cover. Covers can be very misleading. They can also be incredibly attractive, but they can be very misleading. Like with My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferranti, I thought this book would be very different to what it actually ended up being. Let's just put it that way. I adored this book with a passion. The entire Neapolitan Quartet by Elena Ferranti. Prompt number 14, a book that made you cry. I am not a big crier with books or with movies or with TV shows really, but if there's something that can make me just immediately, automatically cry, that is anything related to Harry Potter. But the real Harry Potter, what I like to call the vintage, the original, the real Harry Potter, not the like Harry Potter movies 4 on, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and everything that has come after that. I'm not a big fan of that. Like for me, the real Harry Potter was the one that was depicted maybe in the first 2 movies by Christopher Columbus. I think Chris Columbus should have done the entire thing, the entire series. I really think he captured the real Harry Potter, the tone, the whimsy, the humor, the tone, the real Harry Potter. So every single time that I watch the first 2 movies in the Harry Potter series, I will just cry and cry and cry. Of course, every single time that I read the Harry Potter books, I will cry. But for this particular question of the book tag, I have chosen Harry, A History by Melissa Anelli. This is a book that Melissa wrote when the 7th Harry Potter book had just come out. And so she sort of documented what it was like to be a very active member of the Harry Potter fandom back in the day when we were all completely beside ourselves and beyond excited to receive the final book in the series. This is a great account of what being a Harry Potter fan felt like back in the day, and it's a book that still to this day I will just read excerpts from now and then, and it's impossible not to cry. And finally, we have come to the end, the final question or prompt, which is 15, a book that you wish you could read for the first time. And I am choosing A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. Reading this book for the first and only time that I've read it was one of those reading experiences that I wish I could like pause, like it were a movie. I could just pause it and just live there forever. Like the experience of taking each chapter in, it was just such a discovery. I never ever thought this would be one of my favorite books of all time. The writing is so incredibly funny. This is the funniest book that you will ever read in your life. I am positive. It was just one of those reading experiences of discovery, awe, fascination, endearment. It was bittersweet. It was kind of terrifying as well and tragic, but it was just an absolute pleasure. This is just such a treasure of a book. Now, before I go, I am supposed to tag some people. Hopefully they will see this video and answer the book tag, but this is really just an open tag for everybody. Anybody that is watching this video, if you want to make it, go ahead and do the tag, but I'm just going to tag a couple of people, and hopefully they will do this tag because I would love to see them answer these questions. So I'm gonna tag Mercy's Bookish Musing, Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews, Bookworm Adventure Girl, Nikki Hawk's The Obsessive Bookseller, and A Musical Bookworm. As always, thank you for watching. I am just one reader, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.